New Zealand Government, NIWA, climate change and conspiracy. The New Zealand Government forgets to mention that according to weather statistics over the past 200 years, that Cyclone Gabrielle was par for the course. Many early weather event reports seem to be unavailable for, or possibly conveniently hidden from, public scrutiny by NIWA, a Crown Weather Research Institute. In other words, there have been many weather events way longer than 100 years ago, long before global warming greenhouse gas emissions were invented or heard of, that were of similar intensity or worse than Cyclone Gabrielle. But even worse, the unavailable NIWA weather statistics reveal two startling facts. One, these big weather storms occur 1 in every 10 years on average, not 50 or 100 years on average as we have been politically brainwashed to believe. And, surprise, surprise, two, these massive historic weather event storms obviously have nothing whatsoever to do with climate change, as global warming emissions didn't exist back then. This latter fact is a huge problem for the far-left socialists pushing their fake woke climate change agenda, if this information became common public knowledge. However, there are further worrying implications of the missing, deliberately or otherwise, NIWA major weather event statistics. Namely, there's a huge difference between big storms like Cyclone Gabrielle occurring every 1 in 10 years on average, compared to the typical 1 in 50-year event, or 1 in 100-year event, that's frequently quoted. The obvious question that springs to mind is, would local councils have issued building permits in certain areas had they known the area would be clobbered on average every 1 in 10 years by large destructive storms, which could cause widespread flooding, coastal erosion, land instability issues, loss of homes, and even life? If the missing statistics are proven correct, would that be a legal cause or precedent for gross professional negligence by NIWA, or the local councils, or even the government? Would any of these entities be culpable for the loss or damage people have encountered in recent years for storm damage? Should the government be making sure that no further building consents are issued for such areas, and should they also be initiating urgent action to start transferring homes and critical infrastructure away from these areas to safer locations? Or would the government keep quiet and start slowly initiating property transfers out of these hazard areas by squeezing or forcing out residents from these areas in a clandestine manner, ensuring that the residents, in blissful ignorance, will bear the brunt of such costs, leaving the government, councils and other entities free from culpability and prosecution? In a clandestine manner? What are you talking about? Is this a conspiracy theory or what? Imagine that insurance companies, with encouragement by government, refuse to quote for new or renewal building and or contents insurance in the hazard zone areas prone to flooding, coastal erosion or land instability, for example. What would happen? Homeowners would soon start selling up and moving away at their own cost, namely because their homes would not be covered by insurance, or the cost to insure their homes was deliberately made far too expensive to renew, which ultimately caused property prices to tumble in these areas. Who would benefit? The government, councils and the idle rich, all at the expense of the unsuspecting home residents who did nothing wrong in the first place. Something to discuss with your insurance company and or legal advisor. Thank you for listening. WhangareiTim.